Can you clap with your hands?
Clap.
Oh no. How are they clapping without their hands? I was like, whoa.
He said,
Fair enough.
Scott has the most efficient fridge of all time. Bro, that sleeve is,
You all sleep with all fridges.
You're just sitting. You're sitting back like
I
this.
was on my phone now.
Get another shot. Get another take.
Alright, we're doing Logic today. Thoughts?
Okay. Do you know what record it is?
Going into this album, I was hopeful. I had heard some good things from other people.
Good records.
His last few albums have not been my favorite. I loved Under Pressure. I loved The Incredible True Story. Yeah, maybe if he goes back to his roots, I could enjoy it. And I think he did some good callbacks in this album. And I think it wasn't like super corny, which I thought it had the possibility of being, as it's like, oh, it's my retirement album, I'm dropping this album. Like,
I have never been a big fan of Logic, but I do like albums like Under Pressure. I don't come back to them often, but like I would say I'm a fan. I'm not like, definitely a lot of callbacks and something it's kind of my biggest criticism that I'll get into more, but like.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Scott. I definitely think this is a return to form. The last ones weren't his best in my opinion as well, but also a lot of callbacks, as Victor said, a lot of still like rapping about some corny stuff, talking about his criticism more on this record, which I like that as well.
But I heard this one went back to like the original sound and I was excited, and I think he delivered raps about the things that people don't like to hear from him, because that's what he does, and he didn't want to, it's a thing, and he couldn't break from it, which I really
I
respect.
forget what song it's on, but he was saying like Googling Logic just to see like
That he's
I'm
worthless.
Yeah, and I think that could have fed into a lot of like his like in the middle albums, like he was just trying to conform or like not conform by conforming, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's like a huge part of his ethos or whatever, not ethos, but like topics of what he talks about, haters, and he mentions the internet a lot. Definitely for me is like super corny, because he'll talk about how these haters aren't getting in his head, and like how he searches up like online and he's like he's worthless or whatever, and it's like I'm sure I don't think he deserves as much hate as he gets, and like if people are making like threats or whatever and say like obviously people are scumbags on the internet, he does not deserve any of that. There are reasons to hate on him, and this is one of them. Just buying into this, these internet trolls, like I hate the internet, like it's just like,
well, I don't care, bro. Like I don't want to hear this on a song. Like I really don't care at all. Like I don't think this is interesting, intriguing topic in any sense.
Especially like in a song like Dark Place, where it's like the sample is very dark, it's like this is really introspective and really getting into it, but I feel like on that song he doesn't really get to the root of like a really strong representation of his depression or how he feels or whatever. It's just kind of like he feels like he's worthless. Is it even worth this? What his worth is? I think he literally says that he's like, what is worth?
I like hearing about it, especially because it's such a big part of his life, and like one word you put on to Logic and it's like hate. Like he gets so much fucking hate, and it's like how he's still making music that, I don't know, it kind of seems necessary to talk about it on your last final album, after saying in interviews how you like had depression and how you almost like quit music. And
Yeah, he says in this album, in one of the songs, like he used to make music for enjoyment and stuff, and now he like has trouble even writing because he feels like he has to do what the public wants, and no matter what he does, he just gets tons of hate, so it's not enjoyable for him anymore. You said the internet doesn't matter, but that's where it all comes from. Like, that's where all the hate comes from. Some people are sending him, like, letters, or coming to his house telling him stuff.
Yeah,
it's all over the internet.
I don't know, like, I feel like he could get to a more, like, interesting, pointed, maybe a story about something that happened in his life that triggered his, depressive feelings, like, very intensely and very emotively. It's kind of just like this vague, I look on the internet sometimes and they hate on me, and I'm sure he gets more hate than he deserves. I'm not denying that. But, like, I feel like if you're just buying into this whole like I get hated, it's like a vicious cycle, obviously, which is totally his own fault that he's in this cycle of looking on the internet. That's the whole problem with social media. It's like very addictive and manipulative. But like it's just, I don't really think, and he explores it a lot on songs like Dark Place, and there's a lot of sparse bars every so often where he's like, the internet sucks or whatever. I look on the internet and I got carpal tunnel syndrome or whatever. Like he just mentions it a lot, and they stick out to me. Like it feels like the punchlines where he mentions this are like sort of major parts of the verses, and like he tries to bring them out.
For him, it's got to be very tough, because if you think about how he came up, it was all through like mixtapes and shit on SoundCloud. So that's all he's just getting. He's getting all this hype on the internet. You know, it must have been like his favorite place to be. Like, oh,
That is true.
Logic this, Logic
And
that.
then they all
he's
turned
great.
on him, you know.
And then all of a sudden he drops 2 really good albums, and then
Everyone hates him.
everyone starts hating on him. I feel like that's got to be a very, very hard thing
And like
to
the
cope with.
music world is so there's no like good artist that you don't like in like mainstream music. It's good artists and bad artists. That he can't be good and doing his own thing. If he's not meeting the the status quo, he's not good. And that's like he does his own thing and it doesn't line up with what everyone else does, so it's bad.
Yeah, I
Which-
can see both sides. Like, there's a part of me that definitely agrees with Vic. Like, I think
Yeah.
on his final record, I don't want to say We Deserve, but I would have liked to hear like a super deep cut of like a full song or like a full verse where he just describes like his relationship with social media or with his depression. I don't know. I kind of would have liked to hear that.
I mean, it happens in a lot of rap. You know, it's classic that, you know, artists that are focusing on their lyrics and their general riffing, you know, Wu-Tang, like they just kind of rap and just say stuff, and sometimes they have stronger song ideas, but they kind of just riff. I don't feel like his verses are ultra strong, and I don't feel like he has ultra strong, like, great moments where he say great lines. There are some great lines, but I feel like most of the time he kind of is riffing, and I don't always enjoy, he kind of just, like, he rhymes the words well, and they work a lot of the time, but sometimes the lines just will flow together, and they'll just be like mush, and I'll just be like, I look at the lyrics for like Hit My Line, and I was just like, wow, like none of these lines like mean anything. Like they're all just like general, like the fault, like the domino of that, like general problem that I have with it is that the songs never really come together in my mind. Like what, like on this album, like what is like a super strong song with verses that like directly mention it? I guess.
I think like Dad Bod was like a
Yeah, Dad Bod.
That's a story.
I saw this tweet. It was like Logic raps like he's reading from a dictionary at gunpoint, and it's kind of like just kind of rap it like. And it's not always like that. He does have great lines on this, but
About to have to come out of retirement and diss Vic.
Well, I think that's more personal preference.
Holding
towards,
him
like,
Logic to a higher standard than we hold other musicians. Have gotten through the initial thoughts. What did you guys think about Talia? I guess that's a question.
You know, I didn't realize until like recently when I started to get more into Tribe Called Quest that this was a callback to Midnight Marauders.
yeah.
This is
I don't want him to step on them.
like Talia says that they listened to Tribe Called Quest a
Yeah.
lot during the production.
Yeah, which it makes sense. Like I thought it was cool that she went back to the broken voice. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was nice. They played chess mercilessly, like
Yeah.
Carlos on chess.com. Yeah, it was
Magic
cool.
hit me up. The 1v1.
Yeah,
True.
I like Talia. You're gonna guess you guys are gonna say it's corny, but I think it provides a little bit of like personality and makes the artist seem a little more human than just like a music entity. It's it shows them what they're doing, who they listen to, and what they do in their spare time, and who they work with, and it gives it a little more personality and background.
Yeah, I thought on like first couple of listens it was cool to hear like the fun facts, the little quips, but then after that, I don't know, I didn't really care for them too much. Not to say that's a fault.
Yeah.
Like it's like a very small part of it, but I don't think it adds much because they did this or whatever. It's like maybe have some fun fact about something about like overarching about his whole progression as an artist.
So
or
they talked
something.
about like
I don't
people
know.
they listened to, like while they were making the album.
His fun fact seemed very shallow and not. It's a fun fact. I'm not mad. Like I don't care. It's like 5 seconds, but I don't know. I don't think it really added anything.
Well, I feel like it's just supposed to like just tie it in better with Under Pressure.
And then the Orson Welles stuff. So he was in the beginning, right? That was him on the intro, and then on
Is that supposed to be like the wrap up the true story, or is that just like separate from the like the Aaliyah?
I don't think that's part
true
of the
story.
Oh yeah, he was like, "This is the end of the incredible true story." The first one I liked. The first one I liked because he like said Logic and no idea. Like he added his voice a little bit. But then eventually, once I heard the last one, Obediently Yours, I was like, he's kind of just overshadowed. I mean, like the things he's saying are so poetic and so like well versed, overshining a lot of maybe the meaningful things Logic was trying to pull through with like A Dark Place and things like that. This is like the send off, and it's like a very famous radio thing that like a lot of like I've heard it. Like I feel like he just like kind of plopped it at the end, and like this is the send off. Like this is his this what he's saying is this is his last song. Orson Welles does it in such a great way, and it's like this doesn't really he's not like adding on to what you've said. He's kind of just saying this great thing, and you really have nothing to do with it.
And I enjoyed it. The first time, I mean, you can't really fault it for re-listenability because it's just like a speech.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it the first time I listened to it. There's a lot of great things being said, like Peter said. Evan and I hadn't heard it. I think getting that message out there to as many people as possible is maybe what he was trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
I think that's what I got from it as well, because a lot of people have not like heard Orson Welles at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that was before our time, clearly, and I think he was just trying to get that message out. But I also can see Vic's perspective, how like, he didn't really say anything about it at all through the album.
I think maybe that was because you said he made everybody and everyone like gave him a lot of crap for it.
I
So
guess,
he's thinking
yeah.
like if someone else says it, someone more eloquent than me and more respected than me says it, so well thought out is everyone's just gonna clown on him.
Like as an artist, like he's trying to form this message. Like as an artist, he can't be afraid to do something like everybody, and he wasn't, and I respect him for that, for making everybody. I respect him for trying to do new things with Supermarket. He's definitely ambitious. He, in my opinion, he just doesn't really ever pull it off, but
I think you just gotta take him face value and just listen to him when he says like doing what makes me happy, because that's a slippery slope if you're saying like, oh, what he should do, especially with like all of his depression with criticism.
And again, I
Also-
think it's more about like for him, it's more about the message than.
On Under Pressure, he never like mentions his race at all, and he pulls back on that in Incredible True Story. I think he's like didn't talk about race on the whole first album.
Yeah.
Which if this is gonna be a sequel to that album, then he probably isn't gonna himself mention race.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
I have a lot of footage for this one.
we can get to the actual. Let's get to the actual songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the first verse on
No Pressure.
No Pressure intro, right? Yeah, I thought that was.
The Orson Welles bit.
Yeah, I thought that was.
That was
great.
clever. It was funny. He was like, this is like a faux puff piece where he like made Orson Welles talk about him. I thought that was like pretty
Yeah.
clever and funny.
The beat on No Pressure intro is like one of the best beats. Like the detuned, chords, very simple but very, very, very contemplated. And obviously No ID is a legend. So, and he definitely, most of the beats are just like really great. Some I was not a huge fan of, but they were really great.
Yeah, I really like the beats on this record.
Yeah, I think what I love about Logic's instrumentation is it's more often like organic drums than digital drums. At least it sound real, which I guess it's great for me because I actually play drums and I appreciate when there are real instruments as opposed to digital instruments. So he does that a lot. Like the bass lines a lot are real and the drums are often sound real, which I like a lot. And it helps him create a sound that's kind of differentiates him from other musicians that just use drum machines and stuff. Like especially in Soul Food, it's the bass line is real and the drums are real and stuff.
What did you guys think of the club banger Perfect?
I like Perfect a lot.
Hated it at first, love it now.
Yeah.
Definitely grew on me.
When I first heard like the chords in the intro, those notes, I was just like, ugh. It was really like I don't know. It just put me off. The tone was just weird. And then he started
The drums
rapping
came in, yeah.
the drums. And I was like, holy shit, this actually kind of slaps.
Yeah, I
And
like
it
that song.
definitely grew on me a lot.
Vic didn't like it though.
Yeah, I like Perfect. I that was like good because it was like a different beat, which was one thing that I mean I don't know, it's just a personal preference because a lot of the samples like super bright and the drums were always like super snappy, and I just wanted a little break from that. Perfect was more of like trap synth.
Yeah,
it was a good break.
It was good. Like it was
Yeah.
more aggressive than most of his songs were, which was fun.
He really shined in this, and I never always loved the Bobby Tarantino like I liked Bobby Tarantino, but I feel like he almost does this better. When he does like the more traditional hip hop, he tries to go like really fast and like 'cause sometimes the words can get muddled, and I just like this. It's like you hear his voice, the instrumental is less bright. It's like he's really there, and he had some really like. He can deliver some really quick-witted.
Yeah, I think the only things I would have liked more out of that song are if it was longer, and
Yeah.
if there was another like layer in the instrumental at some point, like a synth or something like in between that bouncy synth and the drums, just to make it a little thicker. But how about like Dad Bod? It's a controversial song.
I like that one.
I wasn't a fan of that one.
That was like one of my favorites.
Obviously, like the point of the song is to be like, this is my life. Like it's not very exciting. I'm just living
it's like
life.
more of like like listen critics like you keep telling me to rap about my life. This is it. Like this is what
Yeah.
you want to hear. It's more of like not like him bragging about his life. It's like
it's cool, but I was just like, okay, like that's true. Like that's your life. Like okay, yeah, I know, and like
that part was funny. He like wraps his dick in the chick's in his hand.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very Eminem.
Or maybe I think it was in this song.
Relax.
Maybe it was in a different song where he says like, my life like used to be hard.
Different
new album, different new album.
I think that was like a
Yeah, I really like the hook. I think this was one of the strongest hooks because because I like when he said, make a couple platinum records, and I dip again.
He said
or something like that.
Yes. I like. Here's some 2 quick ones. Soul Food 1 or Soul Food 2?
One.
One, absolutely.
I don't remember what
Two.
one was like,
Alright,
but
pick
I
one.
actually really love Soul Food 2 because I think the beat was just like,
Actually, one of the things that kind of I guess relates to this song that he does in this album is like recycling lyrics from Under Pressure, reimagining them on this album. Like, you know, in Soul Food, it's the same intro, but he switches a few words to like, you know, change the meaning, and he calls back to Upgrade, one of the songs.
Yeah, I thought it was cool to see him call back on his final album to like understand that it was like the first album that he blew up off on.
Yeah, like the legends forget that they're equal.
Yeah.
Like having
Mhm.
conversations with that was cool.
This-
I just like the original pitching of the sample better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the first
Soul Food
instrumental
one.
is.
The other sample that he used was from Lupe Fiasco's The Cool Gold Watch. I forget which song it's on. I think it's Lupe absolutely bodies that sample on his album. So I was like, oh man, I don't want to hear another song over it.
yeah.
Pretty much the same thing with a lot of the same bars, and then second beat wasn't as good as the second one in Soul Food 1.
Yeah, I think that brings up another one of my biggest criticisms.
Long list.
Is the sampling was not always great, and it was also not from like interesting places. Like this was from Gold Watch. Gold Watch is already an incredible song. You really could never do that sample justice. This is one of my probably my least favorite songs, just because how blasphemous it was GP4. I was like,
That was my next question. Jordan Pants 4, Jordan Pants 3.
in my opinion, like they just take Elevator's Me and You, one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time, pitch it and reshift it. It sounds decent, but it's like literally just a very
The hook,
slight remix, and the hook is just like such a terrible version of the genius hook on the Outkast song.
I guess this is like specific to me, but I don't know any of the other songs you talk about. You know, maybe you guys heard this song and you recognize the sample instantly, and you know that all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've never heard any of those songs, so it's a lot easier for me to just enjoy them. Like, I bet if you hadn't heard any of those samples or something, you wouldn't.
I hadn't heard the original of that song, but I didn't like that one.
How about Hit My Line? Only non-explicit song on the album.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I really love I like his piano like beats
Yeah.
in the simplest, to put it in the simplest way.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the synth bass was like great
Yeah,
contrast.
we talked about that. The
Yeah,
synth
we
bass
talked
was
about
awesome
that.
when
It
it
was
came in.
fat.
A great
Yeah.
counter melody thing. All right, great talk.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best beats. But in the lyric and hook and songwriting section, I thought this was pretty weak because it was sort of like a general hit my line, like, I know all these people want to talk to you or whatever. Like, it was just like, okay. And then he was like, this isn't my Jesus walks, I just want to talk. It's just like a really dumb reference. It's like, doesn't add anything. And I was just kind of like,
Can't wait to see what this did this album. I liked Man I Is.
I did too.
Man,
I
I
thought it
just-
was cool. It sounded like you just stepped in the booth.
Yeah, it was like almost like freestyle. I love the instrumental.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Open Mic? That was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that one was one of my favorites.
yeah,
I love
that had a
how-
great beat.
I love the effects that they put on his voice.
Yeah.
Sounds really aggressive.
All right, so we do favorites. Favorites with the two favorites and one cut.
Sure. Yeah.
No cut. Give me
Give
Hit My Line, and I'll do Open Mic Aquarius 3 as another favorite. Cuts out of the many to choose from.
Ouch.
A to Z.
Wow.
My favorites for this, I'm probably gonna say Hit My Line and Man I Is, and then to cut, maybe also A to Z.
For me, absolutely Open Mic Aquarius 3.
Cap. No, I'm playing. I fucking this.
And then I'm gonna go with Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah. Those little ad-libs were sick. Cut?
Yeah, question mark?
Oh, God.
Maybe.
Five hooks.
Yeah.
Oh, that song was ass,
Yeah,
bro.
probably-
That song
probably
was
5
sweet.
hooks, honestly.
Oh, no.
Is that, yeah, I mean, just some real lyrical shit.
No, I think the second half of that was better, actually.
My favorite,
None of them cut all of them.
my two favorites were, I'm gonna have to go with Soul Food 2, maybe Perfect. And then my cut would be GP4, absolutely.
So when is his song gonna drop?
That's true, that's a fact. When's the little Bobby gonna drop out?
That's it.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we gotta do the.
Alright.
Like,
No, we're not doing it.
we're not gonna rate it.
You can't criticize him. No Pressure, Logic, definitely a return to form. I think he chose some better beats on this record. It's definitely contending to be one of my favorite Logic records, and I'm glad he ended on such a high note, also with the Orson Welles. Nonetheless, I'm gonna give this a flat 8.
You know, off the rip, I did enjoy this album. I think it grew on me a little bit. I had some GP4 growing pains on a couple of the songs.
Yeah.
I did overall enjoy it. I'm happy to see him, you know, being happy with himself. And I think he did it well. It was a good send-off. I am going to give this a 7.2.
So for me, I've never been a big Logic fan. There were probably some of his best songs, some lulls, some poor sampling in my opinion. But overall, I don't think that this album was as inspired as it could have been. I think it was a little bit a decent amount disappointing for me. I'm gonna have to give it a 5.6. 5.6.
5.6, okay.
But as previously said, I think this is certainly a return to form for Logic. I'm really glad to see him, like Scott said, doing what he loves, you know, making music his way and not what everyone else wants him to do. This album helped remind me how much I enjoy listening to his music, whether it's, you know, older or this album, you know, brought me back into his music after a long hiatus. For a number, I think I'm going to give it an 8.5.
How many people listen to like Nav or like Gunna or Travis Scott to like while they're playing video games or just having fun? Like for that, that's the Logic for me. I'm not gonna like put on Nav like other people do. I'll put on Logic, like, and that's why I like this album so much.
Just like kind of while you're doing stuff.
It's a fun like record.
You can like,
pops.
you know, groove to it,
Yeah,
even if you're not paying all your attention to it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like go bar for bar like criticizing him like crazy, but it's a fun record for me and I enjoy it a lot.
People played with the ruling compass and worried about that. I'm not cheating completely. I know where one point is already.
For me, it's like super corny because he'll